whole world is underselling us. You know it as well as I do, right? I can't think of anything better. The fact that they aren't talking about our team with the depth that we have at every position, I've been saying it to every that I've spoken to in the media, right? In terms of our goalies, our back end close defensemen, our long stick middies, our short stick middies, our face-off guy, our midfields, and our attack. We got the best players at each respective spot.
Get the run.
Saying what we did. We set the tone. They got to fall in our role. You guys understand that? And that comes down to you handling your role and embracing it regardless of what it is. We don't give a who plays. This is about winning, and that's it. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3, ha!
Get the run. Get the run.
All right, and we're back. And we're going to talk a little Colgate first, and then we'll go into UVA, if that's all right with you, Matt. We'll start, obviously, with
Let's
Colgate.
go.
Because huge victory. Like, let's just be fair here. But there was a couple milestones. The milestones ended up bigger than – I know you had a tweet about Joey, so I want to start there, actually. Because you had a message to the Joey haters, and I'll let you explain that if you want to go into that first.
Sure. Yeah. So since I think even last year, like, I just can't stand it. Like, it literally just drives me up a wall. Because he's like, he broke the record for points for a sophomore. He works hard. His game is so versatile. He can score. He can feed like no other, I think, that we've ever had. Maybe Nelson, but like he's just getting better and better, and people just want to hate on him because he's number 22 at Syracuse, right? Like, so it drives me nuts. So I think at least I hope that the game yesterday will really shut people up and like, all right. It's just Colgate. Like, that's what people are gonna say. The meme of SpongeBob doing like the like with his arms back. That's my caption with like the weird lettering that says it's just Colgate.
I was gonna say I saw that and I got a good laugh out of that because Colgate came in as the number one scoring offense. Like, I think people need to put some respect on Colgate here.
Yeah, they're a good team.
And years past, we always joke about it. When I grew up, they were a crap team. We can just be fair and honest about it. They had a couple good players. I think that was Brandon Court, right? That was Brandon Court. But that
was like the first time they beat him was when he was on the team. Yep.
And when you talk about that, it's like, okay, they're a crap team. They're ranked this year. Like, we need to kind of put some respect, as much as we did on Towson. Like, if you look at Towson's record, Towson obviously completely different way than Colgate.
Yep.
But so obviously
I was gonna say they're a good team. Like, they're gonna be fighting with Army to win the Patriot League. Like, let's be honest there. Like, so it's gonna come down to the two of those teams. And Army just lost to BU. So like, so it's just it infuriates me when Manhattan is a different story, right? Like, Manhattan was probably the easiest team we played on the schedule when you look at the quality of the teams, right? But like a team like this, a team like who else did we play that was kind of on the fringe? Towson, when we played them, weren't. But obviously, like you said, now they're not as good as we thought they were. But like, and so I was glad to see him do as well as he did. And like, when you look at like when he scored and how he scored, it was like when we really needed it too. And he's like, all right, I'm just gonna beat my guy and go score. Right. Whether it's an inside roll or I'm just gonna out dodge the guy to my left and turn back right and shoot, like whatever it was, he was just like, all right, I'm gonna take this game over. When we get the ball, I'm gonna score. Like, if you look at our last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals, he has 3 of the goals and one assist on 4 out of 5.
Well, we talked about the killer instinct as a team, but I think that
Yep.
kind of goes into play with him, like knowing when
Yep.
he needs to take over the game.
Yep.
And like let's just get it right off the bat. 200 points for both him and Hiltz on the same play. Like
That was so cool. Like
yeah.
I knew it was going to happen on Saturday. I thought it was going to happen on Tuesday, but they
Yep.
both got real close. But then like when Hiltz scored that first goal, and I was like, all right, well now there's a chance for them to tie at the same, like get at the same time.
Right.
And then it happened. I was like, and like even Joey said in the post game, he was like, that's probably never happened before.
No,
And it probably hasn't. Like
I can't remember. There's going to be somebody that's going to message me and be like, "Oh, this person did it.
It happened
17 years ago. Maryland did it." I can't remember. That's how I'll say it. Like I think you would agree. Like,
yeah.
If somebody messages me, I'm like, "Okay, great." Like it probably did happen. Like we can.
Yeah.
And not like this, but the bigger story of Joey. It's not even the 200 points. It's the 11.
Yep.
Like. We talked about last week. We talked to Dan about, or Thursday. We talked to Dan about Twarton and Joey having a Twarton moment. In my opinion, so far this year, this was his.
Yep. I would agree.
This was him saying, "I'm here." Probably going to come in second place, like we talked about, barring something crazy happening. I'll say as high as second. That's the way that I'll say it.
Yeah. It's cursed. Like we said, it's curse award to lose this year.
Yeah, I mean, Joey puts up 11, he puts up 9 in the same week, and it's just like, okay, he's not gonna get stopped. And
out of like 10 shots, I think he shot.
Yeah,
ridiculous. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and we're gonna circle that Cornell matchup coming up for Syracuse because that's gonna be an interesting. Big one. Yeah. Let's talk about Colgate though, because I don't care about Cornell. I want to have the Syracuse. Yeah, I was just gonna say. A couple things to note. I know you mentioned the username, and I already forgot it. The Instagram
user 154.
I am gonna change my name to that. People are gonna joke about that, but shout out to Joey for actually calling out somebody, if that's an actual username, because there are a lot of closet haters who hide behind anonymous names that just say a lot of crap about Syracuse.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's not any. That was just like an example, like
as you should though. Like,
because I would also doubt that he even like pays attention to who those people are. Like,
no,
he's just so in the zone. He doesn't give a crap what people say. Like,
I mean, there are players in the past. I'm not going to mention names. There are players in the past who did get bothered by that, and kind of been proven. But Joey seems to be
he doesn't let that stuff phase him.
Yeah, I was going to say he's the most relaxed 22 I've seen in a while. That's the way that I'll phrase it. Somebody who comes in, knows what he's got to do, like you said. And once again, the storyline is the attack. They just Trey Deer has another great game.
Yep.
Obviously, Owen had another great game. I'm waiting for the game when the midfield takes over. That's how I'll say it. That's the game I want to see, when the midfield is the dominant offensive part.
Yeah. Well, and like if the attack is buzzing, like that, then frees up the midfield, because then they're gonna slide quicker to the attack, and in theory, that will open up the midfield. That shot that Roa had, where they posted on Instagram, it's like, what did that corner do to you? That, like, someone posted, that corner's got a family, dude. Like, like, what are you doing?
I think I saw rest in peace the corner as well. I saw
a
bunch of different videos that people obviously.
My favorite part of that whole thing, and I was texting with Brian and Alex about it.
Yeah.
He just kind of stands back up and just points at one of his teammates, just like a casual point, and that's it. Like, well, of course I was going to hit that. Like, what are we doing here? This is normal.
We talk about it. He is a shooter. That is his role on this team.
So good.
And that's what he does. He's not going to be the guy that gets by you. You find him in the right spot and you just say, okay, go hit this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, go do this, go do that. Not even in a bad way. It's just the way his production is that.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
One thing that I'm very interested in is we talked about when's Finn coming back, right? But like,
Yeah.
do they move Finn to midfield?
I think with Trey Deer's production, I think you have to at least consider it. That's the way that I'll say it.
Because it's like he's got Trey's played in 9 games compared to Finn's 6, and Finn started 6, but Trey only started 3, and he only has 2 less points than Finn.
Yeah, I think what was it? It was Hopkins, right? It was the Hopkins game where Deer had his like kind of question. I think if that game continued, right, and Trey Deer has one goal, we can have a different conversation.
Yep.
I think because he's starting to produce more consistently, and he's getting more comfortable. I think I'll admit that. I think we talked about that. He was a little out of his element, but he seems to be more in his element. He's the inside scorer for this team, and that is his role.
Yep. And he same thing this game on Saturday. Like there was probably 3 or 4 possessions where he fought and got that ground ball.
Yep.
He's surrounded by 2 Colgate guys and somehow comes up with it. Like he's good at that kind of like intangible, like gives us a couple 2-3 possessions, or even like the backup on the half field shots. He was the guy running back there to get that backup. Like, so,
well, and I was going to say, and to be fair, the first couple of games of the year, we didn't see that. And I'm not throwing any names out there like that's anybody's fault, but he's getting the hustle plays that we didn't see at the beginning of the year. Yeah. And a lot of that is because it worked out. Obviously, injuries seem to work out a weird way. But who knows if we even see Deer on attack this year if Finn doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. Yep. Well, like looking at the numbers, Trey has 14 ground balls. So far this season, which is as much as our starting best short stick defensive midfielder. Yeah.
An All-American at that. Let's just be fair.
Yeah. Dewan has 16. Figueres has 17.
Yeah.
Like one of our LSMs has 11. Like he's just that, he's fighting for those.
Yeah. And we obviously talked about it the way the plays go. He's an energy guy, right? Because he's a guy who's going to chase down somebody. Joey's going to do the same thing. All the attack is great at riding. And you see it time and time again. They chase down somebody. They get some sort of back check, and now the ball's turned over, and now you're running your offense. And it's worked out because in years past, listen, as a former attackman, I can tell you this. I was the laziest person, and when the team was clearing,
that's why I played attack.
I did not care about them clearing. Like, go ahead. I'll just stand down here.
Yep.
Like it's changed a lot. That's all I'm going to say. Jimmy had a career high saves. Another positive game. Like
another one that's shutting the haters up.
Yeah. Like he's starting to round into shape. That's how I'll say it.
The thing that I noticed too now that because we talked about the rebounds, right? Like, I've noticed that there was probably at least I think there's maybe like 3 where like the shot went off and like Billy like shades to the goal and he's grabbing those out of the air. Like, so I think they're figuring out, okay, this is a weakness of my goalie. I'm going to do what I can to help him. I'm going to crash the cage. So that if he saves it and it comes out, I can snag it. Because I think there was at least 2 where I saw Dwan snagged it out of the air on the rebound. So I was like, all right, that's like cool that they're recognizing that and doing that. Like,
and you almost wonder if Moderna said something like, look, Dwan, Figueres, Kakemo, whoever, Grace. As a unit, I need you guys to get the rebounds because this is continually happening. And obviously, like, it's an unspoken thing. I'm just saying, like, there's probably a little bit of conversation behind the scenes that happens where it's, Dwan, you're the leader. I need you to rally this team to get the rebounds. Or Carter Rice, Spolina. I mean, we can go through all the names, but I need everybody. And look, speaking of the defense, they hold Colgate to 2 for 8. That's a huge number. That's a huge number to have on the EMOs. Like
that could be the game right there.
Yep. And I think Colgate, somebody's going to correct me on this. I think they were number 1 in scoring offense coming in. number 1 or number 2.
Pretty high up there, yeah.
Yeah. And relatively, you hold them. Like you have a good game. Once again, you get a decent crowd. It looks like it was right around 5,000. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as 15,000 show up for Notre Dame, you won't hear me chirping about the fans and criticizing everybody else. And I'll just phrase it that way. And you know what I mean, Matt. Like,
yep.
And the fans are showing up more this year than they did last year. I'll also say it that way. It seems.
Yeah.
There's more excitement. Obviously, the record does that, but there seems to be more excitement. A couple other notes that I had was
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. Sorry, hold on.
No, you can't interrupt me.
Since you're mentioning fans, shout out to the women's fans, because today there was a record number for a SU women's game, I think, ever.
Fantastic. In all seriousness.
Yep. So anyways, continue with your points. Sorry.
No, it's okay, Matt. It's ironic you say that because Joey's 11 points were the most since Casey Powell in 98.
Yep. The 7 and 6 game.
Yeah.
Yep, against Virginia.
And I don't want to criticize the student reporter, but I heard during the post game the student reporter try and say that it was the most points, and
then he panicked and didn't talk.
Yeah,
poor little Newhouse kid.
Look, I get it now. Trust me, and I think you'd agree. People think this is easy.
Yeah,
I have 75 notes, and I've already crossed out 12 of them. I'll just say it that way, just for things like I'm like, oh crap, Matt corrected me on that. Matt corrected me on this. Just like. I'm not going to criticize because trust me, having talked to Cam obviously behind the scenes about everything, that's a lot tougher than people realize. Let's just be fair here.
Yeah.
Obviously, the other thing that I want to talk about from this is the clears, right? This is that 10-man. They came in running the 10-man.
Yep.
And this is great practice for Notre Dame.
Yep.
Because this is what they're going to need. They're going to need to do the same thing.
Well, and Notre Dame's attackmen ride their balls off. So
yeah, they 22 or 26 on the clears. I'm okay with that. And
you're going to miss a couple. It's going to happen.
I believe Anish Shroff during the broadcast said a couple of them were because of the missed backup shots as well. So technically, those go as uncleared. Yeah. Stupid a rule as that is, it's just the way it works out. Obviously,
because you never got possession in your side of the field or whatever, so then it doesn't count. That makes sense.
Obviously, Johnny Mullen does good on the faceoffs again. Got Drew.
He had a few terrible turnovers, but
yeah.
It's all right.
Well, I mean, he opens the game with the assist, right?
Yeah,
he opens the game with that, and that's the Johnny I want to see.
Yeah,
get the ball.
Yep.
Obviously, if Trey Deer is the back, take the shot. But in that case, take the easy pass. You're going to get your points that way.
Yeah. Yep.
Talked about.
Yeah, so Johnny went 62%. I did the math.
Okay.
I mean, you want him over 60, right? That's the goal.
That's the odd. Do you know what Jimmy's saved? Do you have Jimmy's save percentage?
Let's see. So if the
12 against 18 saves. Quick math, Matt. That's what I'm going to start calling him.
60%.
So that's the number I want for him too. If he can stay right around that or better.
Because you take saves and goals against and add them together, right, to get your total, and then divide by
yeah.
So 60%.
That's the way that I do it.
Crushed it.
Once again, somebody's going to send you or I a message and say, "Nope,
that's not the way you calculate it."
Listen, shout out to the haters is all I'm going to say. I'm just going to say a certain fan, and Matt, you'll know who I'm referencing with this, walked up to me during the Manhattan game and said, "Did you predict them to lose?" I will tell that fan that I did not, and he knows who he is. And Matt, you know exactly who I'm talking about. So
that's funny. Yeah. So now after this game, Jimmy's at 59% save percentage.
That's perfect. For a first year, I don't know. He's not a first year.
First year starting.
Yeah.
And
you think about it, he's still got another year. That's the thing about Jimmy. He's just going to get
2 more years. He's a sophomore, right?
I thought he's a junior. I thought they had him as a junior. Am I going to butcher this, Matt?
Hold on.
Go ahead. First correction.
Oh,
Matt,
it does say he's a junior.
Matt's already got me. I just
Because
want to
23, he redshirted.
Okay.
So he's a junior class-wise, but play-wise, he's a sophomore.
Okay, so 2 more years. We'll go.
Yep. Yeah, because he came in with he's part of Joey's class.
Okay. So once again, just want to point out, I have 4 corrected from Matt. That's what I have so far as one of my notes.
You weren't wrong.
Yeah, I know, but once again, as in the words of you, the haters are going to come in full force and say, "Oh, see, Matt's the expert." That's what I'm going to start hearing. Matt's the expert, and Matt knows what he's talking about. Obviously, Dwan gets another goal, like just to touch on the offense a little bit with the clears.
Most casual half field goal ever.
Yeah, with the clears, with the 10-man ride. Trying to dumb this down without saying it that way. There's a lot more chances for pole goals in the 10-man ride because of the way it's set up.
And there were a couple more we were close on. Grace had a close one.
Yeah.
A couple other guys were close. Kikemo, I think, had a close one.
And they executed it. Like Gary said in his post-game presser, during their extended spring break, they worked on it, and you could tell. Because a lot of teams struggle with the 10-man. A lot of teams throw the ball out of bounds midfield. Their goalie, you know how this. Obviously, you've seen enough, but I've seen enough of it. They did a good job on clears. Do you have anything else from Colgate off the top of your head?
I did. So I did notice too. So I remember when we were talking with Rick about like the grades and stuff.
Yeah.
For the units. And so like I've been trying to pay attention more specifically to like what the offense is doing in like their sets.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell at the beginning of the game that the offense had a specific plan on how they were dodging from where and where the picks were coming from and where the pick was going to after they provided the pick to open up the shot. Like from the I don't know if it'd be considered the left or the right side, but like if you're facing the goal, it'd be to my left. You're on that side, so it'd be the left side then.
Left side GLE.
Yeah, so like Roa was sweeping that way, and Sammy would pick, or no, Sammy was sweeping that way. Roa would pick for him, and then shade back off, and the double would instantly come, and he'd toss right back to Roa, and then back down to Joey. Like so, he either had the open shot. And took it or pass it down to Joey and then move it back to the other side. Like they were very, and it was the same thing with Owen with like the midi coming from that other side and Owen popping up. Like they were very intentional with what they were doing. So it was like, all right, maybe March does know what he's doing a little bit, and like scouts and like, and it's not a knock on the stuff that Rick was saying at all, but like, but since then I've been more like intentional in what I'm watching to see like. Okay, what is the offense doing, or are they just like chaos out there finding spots? Like, and when Joey's sitting behind the cage waiting, that's when it's the chaos of like, all right, let's pick roll, see who we can get open. And Trail just stand there and put it in. Like
Rick, I just want to point out if you're listening, Matt actually had an opinion, just for the record. Matt actually was able to. No, in all seriousness, Matt, I've been noticing the same kind of thing. I mean, I try and watch it like closely.
Yeah,
but ever since we had that conversation with him about the lack of offense system. I've kind of noticed the same thing. Like, and I push back. Like, I don't think there's. I'll say it this way: it's still positionless, and you can kind of see that. Obviously, the way that they run it, having Owen up top, 99% of teams don't do that with their attackmen.
Yep. And I wonder if some of that's them knowing, okay, they're going to potentially pull, 2 middies. So like, let's put Hiltz up top. Right. And then that throws off how they can have their slide package or like whatever. Like, it seems like there's a lot of intentionality. Is that the right word? I don't know if that's a word or not.
Once again, somebody else send you a message. That's all I'm going to say. And it's not me. I just want to point out my hands are up. It's not me. Okay. So don't message me with the crap.
But yeah, like it seemed like a lot of it was intentional in terms of like, all right, we're going to do this way because we know, okay, they're going to slide from this spot. So we're going to have Owen up top because that's going to throw a wrench in that or like whatever else they're doing. Like, but yeah, it was, I got a little nervous at the end of the third, going into the fourth.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's a theme, but this time it was the second half, right? Like
and if you look at it, like we wwere up 8. It was 8-2 at halftime, right?
8-2 at half. Yep.
That's still only a 6-goal lead, and we ended up with a 4-goal win, right? Like, so we didn't
Right.
like it got to 2 at one point, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So like that was a little bit uncomfortable. Then we got them back. So it's like, did we have the foot on the gas the whole time, or maybe let it off a little bit? Maybe, but like they'd
Yeah.
swing a punch and we'd swing it right back. So it's like,
Yep.
all right, like that's cool. Like we didn't take a punch and just lay down and just milk the clock and not do anything. You know, like
Well, and
So.
it's the same kind of thing that we saw from the Hopkins game, right? We were talking about it.
yeah,
There was that fire that we haven't seen. I don't want to say all year. For a lot of the games, they never faced it. But this time, there was some pushback because, let's just be fair here, in years past, this team would have folded. When you go up by a couple of goals going at the end of the third,
yeah,
you're sitting, biting your fingernails, nervous all. Obviously, like you said, you kind of get nervous, right? Going at the end of the third. But this team has showed some killer instinct that I didn't see at the beginning of the year. And I'll just flat out say, like, they're developing that, and you can kind of see the maturity from this team that's kind of built. I mean, if you had told me Jimmy would be at 60%, we saw it, obviously, like, I'd be like, okay, I'll take that. Like, that's And Johnny Mullen is Johnny Mullen.
Yeah.
Like, he's just Angelo got a couple of face-offs again. He's got to get more. I'm not gonna pull a rant on Johnny Mullen because Johnny Mullen's been doing really good.
Yeah. Well, and Angelo isn't doing that great when he's in either, so that's like a little concerning.
Yep.
But he's still a freshman too, so it's
Yeah, and the problem is they're running out of they're running out of games to get him reps in that aren't meaningful.
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility that the UVA is one of those, but I'll say it that way. Like
and I mean, they got a good face-off deal, but one last point for Colgate. Holy crap, were the refs terrible.
I didn't say that. Everybody remember that.
I don't care. Matt
yelled at me for saying that about the Hopkins refs. Just want to point that out.
And I only say that because, like, when refs are equally terrible, and they're like being strict on both sides or making calls that are a little bit questionable, but whatever. Like, and yes, were there a couple that, like the Dwan one, where he had the 2-minute non-releasable? Yes, the guy was falling and he hit him in the head. I don't think Dwan meant to hit him in the head, but when that stuff happens, you're going to get that call no matter what, right? Like, because it's still to the head, no matter what the circumstances are. Yes, Dwan deserves that penalty. But there were some calls, like, Dwan went to clear it, and the ref got in the way, and the ball went out of bounds. And then, like, there was another play where there was a scrum, and Leo ended up on his back on the ground, but then somehow we got an interference call.
Right.
And then, like, there were calls they definitely could have made on them penalty wise that they didn't, but then would make the same call on us. So, like, that's what infuriates me when refs are annoying in games. Like, I think for the Hopkins game, they were calling it for both sides, right? Like, so that I can tolerate because at least it's equal each direction.
But when they're crap both ways, obviously.
Yeah, like, then okay, you're just crap. Like, both teams got to deal with it. But like, when it's one-sided, that's when I can't stand it. And it was so frustrating. Yeah, and I really wanted to yell in the game, but I had my 7-year-old with me, so I couldn't yell.
I was gonna say, and Anish kind of made the point during the broadcast because I was listening live while I was at work to that, and then I re-listened to it. The refs came in with the mentality of last year, and I think that played a part in how they called this game because you could tell. Even Anish said it. They wanted to control it, and they wanted to establish this crap isn't happening. Obviously, the Muley stuff happens last year.
Yeah,
you could tell they were trying to stop it.
Yeah,
before anything even happened.
Yep.
Like And then they go to try and stop it, and nothing happens. And then stuff happens, and they don't step in. It's like, okay, if you're going to do this, that's fine. Then call it that way from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Set the tone. Like if the Billy Dwan hit, right? We can agree I can agree that's a good call. Like it's a call. It's not a good call, but he's falling down. What do you have to protect the safety of the player in that instance?
Yep.
But like you said, ref gets in the way and nothing happens. And then we're just going to, nope, our hands are tied. Like I don't really want to, like I said, I could do a whole episode on referees in lacrosse. I know they have second jobs. I'm not even criticizing them for that. I understand it. So I give them a little bit of pass. Let's talk about UVA. Also, just the scheduling note. You and I obviously talked about this before. There will be no episode next Sunday, but next week sometime we will drop a UVA recap. I gotta kind of figure out the scheduling. I think I'll drop it. We'll have one Thursday coming out. I think it'll be coming out next Thursday. Just note.
And it won't be live.
It will not be live. That is also the other note. Yeah, let's talk about UVA though. So let's see if this wants to work now, Matt, that we talked about this. There we go. All right, we're in business. So here's obviously the UVA point scorers, right? So there's a name that people should remember from Syracuse lore, Ryan Colsey. Obviously, he's not the name you should remember. Obviously, people will remember his father, who was Ricky's teammate at SU.
Yep.
And we kind of talked about it before. I'm a little, I don't know if upset is the right way. I'm disappointed that they didn't get him. That's how I'll say it.
Yeah, there's been a few legacy kids that I'm like, why aren't we chasing after those guys?
Well, you even go back to Petro when Petro was here, and some things work out. That's all I'm going to say. I don't really know too much about that, so I don't really want to speak on that part. But like I said, here's UVA's top scorers. So you're obviously seeing the same. Everybody can kind of see it that way.
Yep.
I'm going to butcher this name, Truett Sunderland.
You crushed it. That was great.
Okay. Is that how you say the first name?
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, they're top point getter and also top goal and assist. So, not just points,
yeah, he stepped up big for them so far this year.
And then you have another legacy kid for them, McKay Millen.
I think Truett was a top 4 or 5 recruit for Jimmy's class. Or not Jimmy, Joey's class.
Okay. So shame on Gary Gate for not getting him. That's what I just heard on that. For people who want to criticize Matt, go right to his mentions and go send him a message. No, in all seriousness, Lars is a hell of a coach. No, I don't think any Syracuse fan. I think that's the one coach that generally Syracuse fans love.
I like Lars. He's my favorite of the non-Syracuse ACC coaches.
And I think a lot of that has to do with local ties. At least for me personally, it's the local part. But what do you expect from this game?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that they've had a down year so far.
Right.
I know they came into the season with, I think, 3 major injuries. I forget who it was. I think it's Colsey's little brother and then a couple other guys.
Yeah.
They get in some transfers. Balsamo transferred from UVA or from Duke to UVA. Yep. I think Hackett is a transfer too.
I believe so.
But they've put up 2 points each.
Right. I was gonna say I can scroll.
Nunes is hot and cold. He's he could bust off a game like the Manhattan goalie, or he'll be a sieve. He'll be one of the two.
Yep.
And everybody thought McCabe was the second coming of Schellenberger, and I think he's showing that he's not that. And that's not saying that he's not a good player, but Schellenberger is a cut above the rest. He's probably the best player in UVA history. 4-time first team All-American. So it's just yeah, McCabe's not that, and he's getting kind of the same pressure that Joey gets, right? Like,
Right.
so, and he's kind of a year behind in his progression because he's only a sophomore, right?
Right.
And he had the like the what's the right word? I don't know what the right word is for it, but like he had Schellenberger and Cormier last year, so he could always get the third guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, so did he put up 70 points last year as a freshman? Yes, but like he also was getting the third defender every time.
Right.
Where now he's getting the number one guy. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like the same conversation we've had about Chris Kavanaugh, right? Like,
Yep.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other thing to note is McCabe is a legacy kid, and a lot of that pressure falls because of his dad, who was
Did Mark
amazing.
Play at UVA?
I believe so. I think that's.
I gotta look it up now so we don't get made fun of.
I see. I'm just gonna say you're getting a text message.
I want to
just as
say
I'm
it was
getting
not
one.
though. Yeah,
It was?
UMass.
UMass? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wrong. You heard that. I was wrong. Matt was right. That's what I just want to point that out. So go at Matt. I didn't know that though. I generally thought he was a legacy kid. I'm not, once again, I will say this again, Matt, I think you would echo this. I'm not an expert. You're not an expert. So I'm just the fan. I just want to point that out. My DMs are open. You can vent. You can talk all the crap you want to me, but I am not an expert. But I pulled up Noon's obviously stats so everybody can see those too, because I happen to scroll down for that just so everybody can see that. So he's at 55, which isn't terrible, but like you said,
yeah.
Let me see if I can. It's interesting though to note there's a second goalie. People are gonna want to so that tells you everything you need to know about Noons. Like the people are gonna criticize Noons, obviously.
Yeah.
But clearly Lars saw something where he needs to, you know what I mean? We need to make the switch. I just want to put this up, Matt, while I got it.
Yeah.
So there's a comment there, Matt, that you and I quickly taled about. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
Here, right?
Yeah, Brendan's coming next year. Yep.
Yeah. So that's just a note. So another Millen.
And so if you look at their schedule,
yep. Let me see if I can actually.
Their best wins Colgate off the bat at the beginning of the year.
Right.
None of their losses are bad losses per se, because it's
Take this off the screen. There we go.
It's Maryland, Ohio State, who actually just beat Penn State.
Right.
I just checked that while we were sitting here. They won 13-9 against Penn State. So you could argue Ohio State might be the second best team in the Big Ten right now, which is wild to think about. Because no one saw that coming. But anyways, so they lost to Maryland. They lost to Ohio State. So the two best teams potentially in the Big Ten. They lost to Richmond, who's probably going to win their conference and be a tournament team. The Atlantic 10, right? I think so. And then they lost to Hopkins by 1. So they don't have necessarily any bad losses, but then like their best wins Colgate. The rest of them are like High Point, Towson, New Albany, and Utah.
So I just pulled up the schedule just so everybody else can see it, because I was able to quickly flip-flopped over that.
Yeah.
I'll zoom it in a little bit, Matt. I know. Trust me, I'm trying to. All right. So like you said, obviously the Colgate looks great. I mean, it's one of those ones where UVA looks really good. Obviously, you can look at the score. Like
when it's the first game, teams are still figuring it out. Like you know, like look at our game against Jacksonville versus Duke's game against Jacksonville, right? Like like we demolished Jacksonville, but in their next game they play a 3 or 4 goal game against Duke. Like so those teams are figuring it out, and Colgate's ripped off how many games against pretty good teams.
And I also just want to point out that UVA did play Hopkins before Syracuse. So, like, and they lost. Like, let's just be fair here for you.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a couple of common opponents. Like, that's obviously both of them lose to Maryland. Maryland loses a thriller of a game this weekend against Michigan.
Well, even like look at the Towson game. They only scored 11 goals against Towson.
Yeah.
Like they're clearly missing some offensive production. They They beat Utah 14-9. Would we win 15-5?
Right.
So that's kind of comparable.
And frankly, they have. I just pulled up the rest of their schedule so everybody else can see it. They have their ACC slates coming up too, so like they're gonna struggle the rest of the year. Like they still have at Carolina, at Notre Dame, Lafayette, which
they should win that one.
I was just gonna say, and then obviously they get Duke at home. So like they should.
Virginia could go 0-4 in the ACC.
Yeah,
or they could go 3-1. Like that. Like that's the thing that's so crazy about the ACC, and same thing with the Big Ten. Like, look at Michigan. Michigan hasn't lost to Maryland since like 2022 or something like that. Like,
right.
And then Ohio State beats Penn State. Like these conferences that are at such a high level, whether it's the Ivy, the Big Ten, the ACC, like those teams are always going to play up for each other, like no matter what, because it's such a competitive conference.
Right.
So, but it's very realistic that they could go 0-4 and then not make the ACC tournament.
Yeah, let me just pull this up to make sure because he's gonna send me
And the couple of people that I know who are UVA fans that I know from Twitter, like Shane is one of them from Stick Talk. Like, he would tell you the same thing. Like, he's a realistic UVA fan. Like, they're not having a year that they want to have.
Yeah.
And it's just, but Cuse needs to come into it not being like, all right, we're just going to walk all over these guys either.
No,
then we're going to get our asses kicked. So.
Also going to share this comment as well. That is a Syracuse commit. That is a teammate. Yeah. That is a teammate with
at McDonough. He's at McDonough.
Yeah. I was told to watch film on him. I'll be honest, to the person who sent me that, I haven't yet.
Brendan or Bogue?
Bogue.
Oh, okay. We got a couple good kids coming in next year. Hanson Peck's good too.
Yeah.
I forget I'll just say Lawrenceville, I think.
The message I got from that same person who posted those comments was a lot of positive stuff from Colgate. Very positive. So this is going to be kind of a shorter episode because we're blowing through 90% of our stuff here.
We don't have to talk for 2 hours. People don't have to listen to us for that long every week.
Trust me, I don't want to listen to myself talk for 2 hours. I'll just be perfectly honest. What do you think the score is? I'm going to put you on the spot for this one.
Oh, man. I think somewhere in the 15-16 to like 10-11, 10-9 range for Cuse.
Are you saying 1 goal game? Is that what you're saying? Or
No. I'm saying like we have 15 or 16. They have like 10 or 9. 11, 10 or 9. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to make somebody very happy, but I'm going to say Syracuse wins. And shout out to that person who loves to send me messages. Haters. I know he truly loves me, but I would love to send me a message and tell me that I don't break Syracuse win. I've got it as a 4-goal game.
Okay.
But it depends.
I mean, this is another one of those old rivalries, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of in the same kind of stratosphere as
now that you ask me that, right? Let me look that up to see what the series. Actually, do you have your second screen open?
Yeah. What do you want me to look up?
Can you look up the total, the rivalry history, Syracuse UVA, just so I have doing all the research live, folks. Just want to also point this out. This is how organized Matt and I are.
The type of operation we run around here.
Yeah. Also, shout out to any sponsors. We are available. That's all.
Oh my God. History. Here we go.
Yeah.
21 wins and 21 losses.
I thought it was more. I gotta be honest. I thought they played more. That's
last 10 matchups were 4-5.
Okay. Let me just pull this up on my end.
And we were 3 in a row losses until last year.
What was the final last year?
18-17. That was that shootout.
Yeah. So if I'll say it this way, if UVA was up and up, I'd expect it to be a shootout. I think we already talked about it, though, given the struggles. This is one of those ones where it's like, okay, Syracuse should dominate this. Like, we should come out. Once again, I do want to point out to Syracuse fans, it is the ACC and it is UVA. Like, there's no easy game in the ACC. And I throw the records out, as Ricky said. I think Ricky put it perfectly. Throw the records out. You said it, obviously. I've said it. Throw the records out. We know what UVA comes in. We also know that UVA can put up 20 goals if they want to. We've seen it in the – and I'm not saying, once again, to that one person who sends me a message, I'm not saying Syracuse is going to lose. That's not what I said with that. I just – Matt, you heard that. So when I get that message, I'm going to send it right to you. Syracuse just needs to play their style. That's the way that I'll say it. They need to not let Lars get his offense up and running.
Yep.
Anything else that you had from UVA? I think
I don't think so. I think the thing that I'm very interested in this week too is like how the rankings change.
Yep.
Going into like tomorrow, I'm very interested to see what those are because you've got 1, 2, 3, 8, 11, and 13 all lost.
Right.
So how does that shake up everything?
I was going to say Dan had them at what, 10?
Not 9 or 10, yeah.
9 or 10. So realistically, Syracuse should move up. Obviously,
I mean,
with a winning. Obviously, they'll move up this week.
Yeah, I think they move up to like an 8.
Yeah, I don't think they go that far. Like, I think people need to understand that. I don't think they get up to top 5. They're not there yet. And I also just want to make a good point. Somebody posted in the Syracuse Cross group. I pay way too much attention to the rankings. Rankings do not matter until we get to the end of the season.
And you want to do this one. That's it.
Yep. Because I saw a lot of the people, we'll end it with this way because I'm running out of all my points. I just saw this today. I saw a lot of people complaining about where Syracuse is ranked.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They can be ranked 15th for the whole year. Now, will I complain about that? Absolutely. They can be ranked 15th, but if they win the national championship, I don't care. They can be unranked. Like, I think people need to understand that. Like, when we get to the end of the year, like when we're start looking at the other games, right? When you get to Duke, I'll have that conversation about the rankings then because then it actually matters.
Yeah.
But
what's the quote? If you ain't first, you're last from Talladega Nights.
Yeah. That's fair though. Like, I mean,
shake it.
So we both have Syracuse winning. To that one person who's going to send me a message or message you.
Yep.
You might get a message from that person. You can respond to him and tell him I said Syracuse is going to win. I just want you to say that to him. I'm not going to mention his name because you and I both know. I don't really know if he wants his name mentioned and all that. So I'll just say it that way. He's just a season ticket holder. That's how I'll tell people. So yeah, I think we're good unless you got anything else. Like,
nope, that's good for me.
I blew through my notes a lot quicker than I thought I would. And
we didn't have Rick to talk to us for
I know. Hours. We didn't have Rick or Dan. I mean, Dan filled up.
Or Cam. Cam fills up a lot of time too.
It's okay. Cam, if you're listening, I sent the message. That's all I'm going to say. The message was sent, and you told me 8:30 works, Cam. Just remember that.
Dan's going to go cry in the corner.
Yeah, it's okay. I get it. I get it. Obviously, this time works out for you and I, but it doesn't work out for everybody. And I'll give a selfish plug to Brian, even though he can't join us.
They're live right now.
I was just gonna say to everybody listening, go give them a follow. I think Matt, you know their socials better than me, as you're an expert member of
Stick Talk Lacrosse. Yep.
Shout out to everybody listening.
Scotty,
right now.
Shane, Diggs, and Brian. They do a great job.
I think they went live at 9.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they go live actually right around the same time that we do normally. So,
I got to say one more thing too. So for those who don't follow me on Twitter or any social media,
Share your social media.
oh,
Go
just
ahead.
at Matt Shaler, MattsHaler.
Yeah.
Give me a follow, folks. Like and
Yeah.
subscribe. So I'm a lacrosse card collector, as I've shown a couple times on episodes. So I got to give a shout out to Brad Ledwith, one of my fellow lacrosse card collectors. I got this bad boy in the mail.
Yeah.
See if it'll show. Not
Your background is black.
Tilting it so it. There you go. That's a little better. Hold on. Let's see if I can do this.
I was gonna say,
No, I'm not even gonna try. It's I'm gonna break something.
Yeah.
So it's a Joel White autograph 101 card from the World Box Championships. So did a little partial trade, partial buy from him. My first 101 from the box set. Now I've got everything but the regular 101 for Joel. I almost got the full set.
I was just gonna say, and I'll give Matt this plug. If anybody has any Syracuse cards, reach out to Matt. He's always looking to collect them.
Please do. I got my binder.
Yeah,
that you can't see. Also,
I was just gonna say, Matt is trying to collect. You can explain this better than me. How many cards?
There's I can tell you how many cards.
Yeah, I know.
Now we're getting on a rant here. There's about 300 cards total of all former Syracuse players.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot I'm still after, and a lot of hard ones to find. But if you got some, holler at your boy.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's a great way to end it. That's a perfect way to just stop it right there.
Okay. Go Orange.
Go Orange.